Hi everyone, we are just going to wait a few seconds for everybody to enter the webinar and we'll get started soon. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hi everyone, my name is Celine and I am an incoming senior here at Cal. I'm studying sociology and cognitive science, and my pronoun series is she, her, hers. I'm so excited to welcome you to our UC Berkeley virtual visit for today. Thank you all for joining today. Know that no matter where you are in the world, everybody is facing their own challenges, and we want to make sure that you know the Berkeley community is supporting you and that we stand with you. And you can go ahead to our website to see how our school is supporting our students who are incoming the fall semester as well. So before we get started today, a little bit of housekeeping. This virtual visit is going to start off with a 40-minute presentation by our wonderful tour guides. We have a Q&A down at the bottom. We welcome you to type any and all questions that you may have, and we have many back-end folks who are ready to answer your questions for you. There will also be polls that we will be popping out throughout the tour. Please make sure to answer those so that we know who is here today and where you guys are located. And if you miss any part of this tour for any reason, no worries. There is a different recorded version on our website that you could refer to after this tour. This is going to be a campus overview fully in the student perspective, which means that there is no admissions or financial aid information. If you have any questions about that, we will gladly direct you to their offices. But if you would like to sign up for a specific admissions presentation, you can do so at admissions.berkeley.edu. And finally, we will be ending with a Q&A with all of the questions that you guys ask. So please go ahead and ask all questions that you may have, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Dylan and Rachel take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm an out-of-state student to Berkeley, so I'm originally from Ellicott City, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes outside of Baltimore and 1 hour from Washington, D.C. I just graduated from Berkeley in the class of 2020, which is super exciting, where I double majored in cognitive science and legal studies. A little bit about my involvement at Berkeley. I was a resident assistant, also known as an RA, for 3 years, so I lived in the residence halls all 4 years of college. I also worked as a residential life hiring coordinator, basically to hire all of the resident assistants and peer tutors who work in our dorms, and I was involved in the ASUC, which is the big student government that we have on campus, and finally, I'm involved in study hall college consulting, which is actually a team of Berkeley students who review and edit college application essays. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome, thanks Rachel. So I'll take it over. My name is Dylan. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm from Glendale, California. I'm currently a rising junior here at UC Berkeley. I major in rhetoric and I minor in both public policy and journalism. I just finished my journalism minor recently, so that was pretty cool. On campus, I'm also a resident assistant. I actually just became a resident assistant. I'll be moving up next week for the first time to help out residents. I'm also a member of the UC Rally Committee, a spirit and traditions group on campus. And then for my jobs, I do Cal Performances. I'm a production assistant with that, where I work backstage helping shows go smoothly. And then aside from that, I'm also a research assistant in the social studies department at UC Berkeley. So that's just a little about us. We're very excited to be on this tour with you today. So let's move right on into welcoming you to our campus. First things first, we want to know who you are. Let us know where you are in your journey to apply to college. If you're a rising senior, a junior, a sophomore, whatever you want to tell us. We have a lot of seniors so far. That's good. I'm glad you're getting a head start on your journey, or you're ending your journey learning more about Cal. We'll see how that goes. So a little bit about UC Berkeley. You see that awesome GIF on the top left corner. That's kind of an overview of campus. We have a big sprawling campus in Berkeley in the East Bay, a lot of beautiful buildings with great architecture style of the Roman kind of columns and really academic halls, that kind of architecture. It's pretty cool. You'll see a lot of that on campus. And you see that big tower on the GIF right in the middle of the screen. That's also the same tower. That's our Campanile, one of the tallest bell and clock towers in the world, about 307 feet. It is a pinpoint of campus. It's the big thing you'll see on campus that'll help direct you around. So it's a wonderful place to be. And then on the bottom left, you see the 150W. We're actually currently celebrating our 150 years of women being allowed at UC Berkeley's campus, or we recently just celebrated that. One cool thing to note is that women have been allowed at UC Berkeley before women were even granted the right to vote in the United States. So that just shows your commitment, Berkeley's commitment to empowering women in the academic fields as an institution. A lot of high school seniors, that's great to see. Very proud of you being here, learning more about Berkeley. On the top right, you'll see Memorial Glade. That's where a lot of students hang out in front of the Campanile and one of our largest libraries, Doe Memorial Library. And then right below that, you see that we recently, a couple years ago, celebrated 150 years of UC Berkeley existing. So that was pretty cool. We're about 152 years old right now, just about. So we've been around for a long time, and we're a historic institution. It's one good thing to know. So let's talk about kind of what we're going to go over today. We're going to do a general overview of Berkeley. We're not going to talk about specifics in terms of financial aid or admissions, that kind of thing. We're giving you the student perspective of what it's like to be a student at Cal, specifically this semester and this year coming up with the challenges we face globally. So first, we're going to have an overview of what Berkeley is. Then we have talks about academics, housing and dining, health and safety, student resources, student life, athletics, libraries and research, and specifically remote learning for how you're all going to be dealing with that right now. And we really encourage you to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We have a team of ambassadors working the back end shift who can answer those specific questions you have using the Q&A function if you have any questions about things we say that you might want to get clarifications on. So let's move right along.
Awesome. So jumping into Berkeley's history, like Dylan just mentioned, Berkeley was founded in 1868 with the signing of the Morrill Land Grant by Abraham Lincoln. So with the signing, that actually created schools across the West Coast. So UC Berkeley, for me as an out-of-state student, I was super confused why people would call Berkeley, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, Cal, University of California, but all of those names are synonymous for UC Berkeley. So you can call it any one of those names. And that is because we are the first UC campus in the UC public school system. So like UCLA, UC San Diego, we are the first school created, which is super awesome. So on a lot of t-shirts and sweatshirts for Berkeley, you will see that they just have the Cal logo, C-A-L, on it. And that's because we are the first. So every other UC public school has to have their entire school name on their t-shirts, which I think is super cool that Berkeley just gets that Cal logo. So here at Berkeley, our mascot is the Golden Bear, which you'll see a photo of on the next slide. The Golden Bear mascot's name is Oski, and back in the day, we actually had live bear cubs walk around campus as our school mascot before everything. We don't have that anymore, and so you'll see a photo on the next slide. Our campus size is fairly large for a university. We have about 31,000 undergraduate students and about 12,000 graduate students that are on our campus every single day. And so we have a lot of historical landmarks as well, such as the Campanile and Sather Gate, which will be shown on the next slide.
Awesome, thanks Rachel. So like Rachel just said, that first picture you see is going to be the Sather Gate. That's the big gate at the front entrance of Berkeley. It used to mark where the university began and separated from the city of Berkeley. Very historic gate, big green archway, has a very storied past at UC Berkeley. And also, you'll see in a lot of popular media and culture that this gate is used for inspiration for kind of made-up colleges. Like in Monsters University, a movie that came out about 5 years ago, their archway, their gateway for Monsters University was modeled after Sather Gate. And additionally, in the Marvel movie, The Ant-Man and the Wasp, the team goes to UC Berkeley to seek help from physicists. So that's pretty cool. You got to see Berkeley in that movie, in a Marvel movie. Berkeley is canon in the Marvel universe, which is pretty cool. In the middle, you'll see Sturdy the Golden Bear. That's our Sturdy Bear. It's a statue that's right in front of California Gold Memorial Stadium. He gives our players good luck before they go into football games, a symbol of the different bears we have around campus. So that's pretty cool. On the top right, very interesting symbol. That's one of these seals around Memorial Glade. We have 3 seals around our Memorial Glade on campus, and those seals are actually memorializing the people who served in World War II. And so legend has it, if you're a student walking around on campus and you step on one of these seals, you won't get a 4.0 that semester, or your grades will suffer because you're disrespecting people who served in World War II. So if you come to campus, you'll often see the Red Sea part around those seals so students don't mess with their GPAs. It's very important. You might want to do that too. Below that, we have Oski. He's our costume mascot for the University of California. You'll see him at all of our athletic games. He's really cool. He's not like a regular mascot. He's better. He just does a bunch of goofy things. Sometimes at basketball games, he'll just walk up behind people and scare them. He'll give you a high five. He sometimes just wanders around campus. So he's definitely a mythical creature that you will encounter at UC Berkeley, and we love him a lot. So let's move right along.
Yeah, so speaking some more about Berkeley overview, we definitely have a campus culture of change making, and that spawned in the 1960s, where it was the start of the free speech movement. And the free speech movement you all might have learned about in history class. It actually started on Berkeley's campus, and it created a bunch of similar movements across the United States in college campuses. And so basically with the free speech movement, there was some dissent about what could be said on campus and what was not allowed to be said on campus. So if you see in the upper right-hand photo on your screen, this is actually a photo from the free speech movement. And in Sproul Plaza in that photo is actually where Mario Savio gave a really, really famous speech on top of a police car. So the remnants of the free speech movement period definitely is felt throughout Berkeley's student population today. All of the students here are student leaders. They like to challenge the status quo. Being so close to Silicon Valley, we have a lot of innovation and research that happens on campus, as well as entrepreneurship being in the Bay Area. So that was something that was super cool for me to see coming from the East Coast going to the West Coast for college. Additionally, on our campus community, we have a lot of compassion, passion, and students really like to fight for social justice. So in the current days today, a lot of students, whether something is happening on the news, they will bring their voices to Berkeley's campus and they will want to talk about events that are happening in the news. So such as different spirit things or pride things. So being so close to San Francisco, a lot of students do like to share their voice by attending marches in San Francisco. So that's also a great way where students are sharing their message and sharing their voice.
Awesome. Exactly, Rachel. Moving on, talking about kind of representing your voices on campus, you'll see on the top left corner a picture of a protest that happened, I think, in the last decade at UC Berkeley. Students at Berkeley are very passionate about changing the world, and they'll do it directly on the streets and use their voices to do so, like Rachel said. So, and again, you don't have to participate in protests at UC Berkeley or demonstrations, but you can pick and choose which ones you want to. It's definitely not required, but there's a big campus community surrounding that. And, you know, Berkeley isn't just all about protests and social justice. We also are a Pac-12 university with sports events that happen all the time. So right below that photo on the slide, you'll see one of our game day rallies or pre-game day rallies that we have to cheer on our Golden Bears before they take on a football team, usually during home games. That's really awesome. Really great things you can see just walking down Sproul Plaza. And then to the right of that photo on the bottom, you'll see a big robot. That just goes to show a bunch of the different clubs and organizations we have on campus where you can get involved in a myriad of different things you might be interested in, including robotics or building things. We have a huge tech and machinery presence on campus for students who are interested in that. And above on the top right, we have our UC Rally Committee. I'm a part of that. I know a lot of those people. Those people are some of my friends. Those are people who care for the spirit and traditions at UC Berkeley. They take care of the big game rivalry that we have between Stanford every year. A lot of those people are caretakers of the trophy we just recently won in 2019 for the big game. We just beat Stanford recently for the first time in a long time. So it's pretty cool. We definitely cherish traditions at this university. And then right below that, you'll see a couple of trapeze artists hanging off the campanile. I think that was to celebrate, I believe, our 150th anniversary or something different. I can't recall exactly, but I know that maybe sometimes during a special day, you'll see trapeze artists hanging out the side of the campanile. So it just goes to show there are a bunch of cool things happening on UC Berkeley all the time. We really encourage students to get involved as much as they can at UC Berkeley. So let's move right along.
Yeah, speaking of current events and how the free speech movement impacts today, a lot of students, professors, research is happening on Berkeley's campus. So we have a global impact. So for example, with education, after classes went solely online in March, there was student groups that actually focused and spent money to provide laptops and other computer accessories for students in our student population who might not have their own technology or have access to the devices that you would need to be successful in online learning. So that was really cool that they were able to to provide laptops to students who wouldn't be able to have a laptop if they didn't have these school resources. Additionally, remote youth programs, those are really cool. Berkeley hosts a lot of summer camps for a lot of little kids who live in the Berkeley area, and they were still able to have these summer camps this summer by promoting online learning. And one of them was really cool. It's a camp for little girls who might be interested in STEM, and so they still did the camp online, and so they made like little bridges and little mechanical hands. So that is really, really cool to see even during online learning times. We also are a pinnacle in COVID research, so a lot of research for COVID-19 is happening on campus in the labs, which is really cool. And finally, like we mentioned before, with advocacy and social justice, people really like to and are really passionate about social justice and spreading their voice, especially with regards to human rights and anti-racism initiatives.
Exactly. And now, while you just learned about what Berkeley is doing for the world, we want to talk to you a little bit about what you will be doing at Berkeley as a student. So let's talk a little bit about our undergraduate colleges. But first, we want to hear about what you're interested in at Berkeley. What things are you interested in studying? Please respond to that poll. So far, we have an engineering person, some people for business, biological sciences. Great. These are all great programs we'll talk about in the oncoming slides. It's great to see the diversity of interests we have. So firstly, let's talk about the different undergraduate colleges we have at UC Berkeley. First, we have the College of Letters and Science. That's one of our general colleges that holds most of the students at UC Berkeley. We have majors in there from just general biology or things like that to my major, Rhetoric. So you'll see a lot of diverse students in the College of Letters and Science. Most likely, you might find a major that you like in the College of Letters and Science. But beyond that, we have the Rausser College of Natural Resources. If you like nature, if you like trees and the environment, then that's a place that will be ripe for you. It also has pretty cool majors that we'll talk about in the oncoming slides. We have the College of Environmental Design if you're focused on how to build the future in a more uniquely environmental and conservation way that has environmentally conscious designs in it. And then after that, if you're more interested in chemistry and engineering, we have colleges for chemistry and for engineering that are world-renowned. I see most of you are interested in engineering, so we'll have a great presentation on that slide coming up in just a little bit, but that's a little overview of the undergraduate colleges that we offer at UC Berkeley.
Awesome. So jumping into the first undergrad college, we have the College of Letters and Science. And like Dylan just mentioned, 3/4 of the undergraduate student population is in this college. So it has 5 divisions: arts and humanities, biological sciences, math and physical science, social sciences, and undergraduate studies, with over 80 majors in this college. So if you're interested in like math, physics, computer science, political science, media studies, economics, all of these majors are in the College of Letters and Science. For me, my double major in cognitive science and legal studies are both in the College of Letters and Science. So you can double major within one college like I am doing, or you can try to double major across 2 colleges, but it's a little bit more difficult because you have to fill out all of the paperwork and then complete all of the prerequisites and all of the classes in order to graduate. So 16 out of the 23 Nobel Prizes are actually from the College of Letters and Science, and that's something that we hold really, really dear to our hearts.
Absolutely. And if you don't find your home in the College of Letters and Science, maybe you will in the College of Natural Resources, the Rausser College of Natural Resources, like I mentioned prior to that. The College of Natural Resources, again, is very focused on the environment. Some majors you can major in this college include biological sciences, nutrition and toxicology, ecosystem management, an interdisciplinary study track in this college, social sciences, and economics and policy, environmental economics and policy. I actually have 2 friends who are majoring in that, and they love it. It's a combination of how the environment comes into play with politics and economics in the world, and how to build a more sustainable future using politics. So it's very interesting if you're very passionate about that. And of course, the college is passionate about sustainability and social justice. Rausser College of Natural Resources students are some of the greatest, most passionate students on campus in terms of keeping the world a safe place for both animals, us, and nature. So very great college to apply to if that is something you're passionate about.
The third undergraduate college is the College of Environmental Design. It's actually our smallest undergrad college with only about 650 students total in it. It has 4 majors in architecture, landscape architecture, urban studies, and sustainable environmental design. So you can see like in the photos here, they have a bunch of like studios where students can create their designs in them. The entire building, Worcester Hall, is where the College of Environmental Design is located. As you can see in the little pan zoom out photo in the lower right-hand corner, this building is super environmentally friendly as well as sustainable. And the College of Environmental Design also has its own ambassador team. So you all today visiting us on this virtual visit, the ambassadors for the College of Environmental Design also do walking tours of the College of Environmental Design if that's something that you're interested in.
Awesome. Let's talk about a little bit about our College of Chemistry. We're one of the few universities in the world that has a college devoted to chemistry. Our College of Chemistry is very focused on people who are interested and passionate about chemistry. It's why it has about less than 1,000 students, about 1,000 students. They have 3 majors in this undergraduate college: chemistry, chemical engineering, and chemical biology, both highly intense majors. If you're really passionate about chemistry and these kinds of things, and you're definitely going to want to apply directly to the College of Chemistry. We also have our storied history in innovation and research at the College of Chemistry. A lot of things you hear about Berkeley for are because of what we have done in the chemistry field. 16 elements have been discovered at Berkeley. In fact, we have 2 named after Berkeley itself, berkelium and californium. So not a lot of other universities can say that about themselves, but we can, which is pretty cool. Also, if you've taken a chemistry course in your life, you've probably used Lewis dot structures. That was actually kind of created by that guy Lewis at UC Berkeley, Professor Lewis, and there's a building devoted and named after him in the College of Chemistry, so that's pretty cool. Definitely a storied past for chemistry at UC Berkeley. So if you want to be at the cutting edge of chemistry and innovation with chemistry, you really want to going to apply to the College of Chemistry at UC Berkeley.
Yeah, so similar to the College of Chemistry, if you're interested in anything chemistry or engineering related, you definitely want to apply directly into these 2 colleges when you are applying to college, because they are more difficult to transfer into once you're already here at Berkeley. So with the College of Engineering, there's about 3,800 students in it. The College of Engineering has 11 majors in it as well, including electrical engineering and computer science, as well as an undeclared engineering major. So with the electrical engineering and computer science major, this is actually different than the computer science major that's in the College of Letters and Science. So if this is something that you're interested in, we definitely recommend checking out our separate virtual visit just for the College of Engineering. Very, very similar to this, where guides will talk only about the College of Engineering and everything that you need to know, and you can sign up online similar to how you signed up for this tour today, but basically they happen on Mondays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So definitely check that out if you are interested in anything engineering related.
Awesome. Now, if you want to continue your education at UC Berkeley, we have a bunch of graduate schools for students to apply into. I'm actually applying to Berkeley Law this fall, so that's something you can definitely do as a Berkeley student, is apply to our graduate schools. And some graduate schools have opportunities for undergraduates. Our Haas School of Business, our business graduate school, actually has a specific business administration, a global management, and biology and business MET program for undergraduate students that they can get involved in, or other similar programs that undergraduate students can apply into if they have a business focus in their undergraduate studies. Aside from that, we have graduate schools in the fields of education, information. We have Berkeley Law, the Graduate School of Social Welfare, optometry, journalism, public health, and public policy. As you noticed earlier in the tour, my 2 minors are in journalism and public policy. Those are just some undergraduate colleges that offer undergraduate programs for undergraduate students. So I spent my summer just recently getting my journalism minor, and I'm about to finish my public policy minor. So I get to work with graduate students and graduate level instructors on a semesterly basis. So that's definitely something to look into if you're interested in that.
Awesome. So definitely if you have any questions regarding the 5 undergraduate colleges or our graduate schools here at Berkeley, definitely leave a question in the chat function down below. So going into academics with structure and class sizes, every single class and lecture here at Berkeley has a lecture and a discussion component. So lecture is where the professor is teaching you all of the material that you need to know for exams, and then discussion sections are smaller than your maybe big lecture hall with only 20 to 30 students in them. And discussion section is taught by your graduate student instructor, also known as GSI. So in this mandatory discussion section, the GSI isn't teaching you anything new, but basically they are going over the material that the professor taught in lecture. So maybe going over practice problems if it's a math class, or if it's like an English or writing class, you might be going and analyzing the texts that you had to read. So discussion sections are a great way to reinforce the material that you learned in class and get your questions answered. Additionally to lecture and discussion, we have something called office hours. This is a great way to go in and talk to your professor or your GSI one-on-one. So the office hours period is a time where the professor and GSI literally sits in their office waiting for students to come and have questions and get their questions answered. So that's something that I really regret not using more of my freshman and sophomore year at Berkeley, because I was super nervous to go in and talk to people, but going into office hours is a great way to get FaceTime with your professor, maybe get a letter of recommendation, internship, or research opportunities. And now with classes online, all of these resources have switched online as well. So the professors and the GSIs are still holding office hours online. So I found that Zoom office hours is a lot easier and less stressful to go to, because you just hop on Zoom and then you can talk via the computer rather than having to find the GSI's office in a building on campus. So I really like that transition. Speaking of class sizes, we do have an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio, with 85% of classes that have fewer than 50 students. For those like lab classes like biology or chemistry or computer science, you also have hands-on labs and studios where you can go and do designing at, which is super, super cool. And finally, for resources, we have something called the Student Learning Center. This is actually a tutoring service that's free for all students. You can go in on campus, and they've also switched online. So you can go and get free tutoring from students who have taken the class before and they've gotten a really good grade in the class. So they know what the class is like, which is super cool. And individual advising from an advisor, whether it's a student advisor or an adult professional advisor. They can help you choose classes. Maybe if you need extra help for a class, they can pair you with a tutor or something like that. So all of these are great resources that have also switched online during these times.
Awesome. Just like Rachel was talking about, we are aware that this next semester is going to look a lot different than past semesters due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So UC Berkeley has decided that we will engage in remote learning this fall semester. For the start and the end of fall semester, we will be having remote learning. Hybridization goals are going to be in line with CDC guidelines, as long as we all follow social distancing rules and be careful out there and make sure that no one is getting sick and we're protecting each other. Then maybe in the future we can see everything start to slowly come back to normal at UC Berkeley. But for now, remote learning is what we're going to be focusing on. We're still trying to prioritize a good academic experience at UC Berkeley through all of this. You are going to be provided with a free Zoom Pro account. Zoom is what we've been using to have classes online. Most of the bears you'll meet who have already been on campus will tell you that I personally last semester and then over the summer had only Zoom classes for most of them. And I think that it can work out. You can have a good class experience on Zoom if you're proactive, if you go to class, and if you engage like you regularly would. So these are things that can still help you feel like you're in the classroom and you can get a lot of information and knowledge through utilizing these resources. Also, some classes may have asynchronous and synchronous learning. Some classes may require you to just do projects and homework online without showing up. Some may not. That depends on your lecturer and the kind of classes you take, but be prepared for different situations. But for the most part, Berkeley is committed to making things work for every student this semester. So if you have any questions, please ask about that. Like Rachel said, there's going to be a lot of virtual and tutoring resources. We definitely want to make sure bears have access to resources, specifically academic resources for your academic success through a remote semester. So virtual drop-in tutoring will be provided. Instructional resilience is going to be institutionalized to make sure that students can do the work as much as they can to the best of their ability, depending on their situation. It's going to be a semester in the cloud, and we're willing to work on this with you. But let's move right into housing and dining.
Yeah, so housing and dining is Dylan and I's favorite subject to talk about here at Berkeley. A poll just popped up asking where you all are joining us from. So please feel free to answer that so we can get to know you all a little bit better. So the typical first year housing options, we have Units 1, Units 2, Units 3. These are like your typical high-rise buildings. They have suites and traditional style housing in them. So the traditional style of housing, it's like 30 or 40 students on the floor and you all share a communal bathroom versus mini suite options. That is like 3 to 5 students sharing 2 bedrooms, and then you have a private bathroom within. So depending on what kind of style of living you want to live in your first year, that is what you would note on your housing application. So Clark Kerr is a little bit further away from campus, but even though it's a little bit further, it has everything that you need to be successful with its own dining hall, track, gym, pool, study areas, all of that. So I worked at Clark Kerr for 2 years as an RA. Dylan is going to work at Clark Kerr this upcoming year as an RA. So definitely, even though Clark Kerr is further, we love the walk, and you do get used to that walk from and to your dorm. Next, we have Blackwell Hall, which is the closest dorm to campus. And the unique thing about Blackwell is that it's only double rooms on the inside. So that means only 2 people. So all of the other dorms have doubles, triples, and quads, meaning it's 2, 3, or 4 people sharing a room. But Blackwell is just brand new, 2 years open now, and it only has doubles inside, which is really cool. And then Stern and Foothill are on the northern edge of campus. And so the unique thing about Stern is that it's a residence hall only for female identifying students. So if that's something that you're interested in, then you would note that on your housing application. So with the poll, it looks like you all are a lot from Southern California. There's some East Coasters and even some international students. So that's super exciting. Moving into the next slide, we have a little bit more about housing. So freshmen do get priority on the housing application. When you fill it out, you have a choice of 5 drop-down menus. So you can rank your housing options 1, 2, 3, 4. Just in that 5th option, you have to put any room, any location. So when the random number generator is generating your number, and if your first 4 options fill up by the time it gets to you, it will still assign you a housing location because you put any room, any location there. For resources in your residence hall, the big thing is the resident assistant, like we have been talking about, the RA. So the RA is older students who live on the floor with you. They act as a mentor, a bigger sibling to help you guide your journey coming from community college or high school, your transition to college. So the RA, we have big budgets, so we have a lot of money that is spent on students. And now with everything online, the RA is also planning events for students, doing raffles, movie nights, everything that we would have done if we had in-person classes. Something unique about Berkeley also is theme programs. So theme programs are living floors where you could live on a floor of people with a similar identity or interest as you. For example, we have like the African American theme program, the Asian American Pacific Islander theme program. Those are identity-based theme programs. And then for interest-based theme programs, we have like women in STEM, as well as people that are interested in the environment. There's a theme program for that. So if you wanted to live on an entire floor of students with a similar identity or background interest as you, you can apply to those on the housing application. For security, all of the residence halls have a 3-point security system, meaning you need your student ID to tap into the residence hall to gain entrance, and then you also need to tap your student ID to gain entrance into the elevator or the stairwell to go up. And then every single student has their own key to enter their private bedroom. In addition, we have common areas, also known as lounges in all of the dorms. So they have study lounges as well as social lounges. So you can study in them, or you can also hang out, do board game nights with friends, hang out in there, which is a ton of fun. And the meal plan is included for all students if you're living in the residence halls. And the meal plan, the dining halls, they are all you can eat buffet style inside. So you can go eat as much as you want, stay for as long as you want, talk with friends, and all of the food is really good. They have a bunch of different options, from meat options, salad, fish, vegetarian, pescatarian, vegan, kosher, a bunch of different options for any kind of dietary restrictions you might have. So housing during COVID-19, like I briefly mentioned, so priority is based on self-selecting need. Right now, you can actually still live in the residence halls, and they are all single rooms. So that means that it's only you living in the room versus where it might have been 2, 3, or 4 people living in the room. Everyone is staying socially distant. And so students are provided with face coverings, free testings at our university health center, as well as a sequester period. So when you come to Berkeley, you will have to self-sequester for 7 to 10 days before you go out and mingle with other students. And so, like I just mentioned with the dining hall, usually you could go in and sit and hang out with friends, but now they offer only to-go meals. So they're like grab and go options now to limit the amount of contact that is happening in the dining halls. And same thing, resources with your RA, they're doing online events and they still have a budget to spend money on students. So they are creating a social group of students. They create the group chat for your floor. So even during COVID-19, you should definitely talk with your RA, and that's how you can make friends and meet people on your floor, as well as social pods and chats. They have little clusters and groups of students that the university has created as your little group. So even during this time when you're living alone in your room, you will have your little group to be able to go to and ask for help and stuff like that. So transfer and continuing student housing, a lot of students after their first year here at Berkeley do like to move off campus. So off-campus apartments is a big choice. Additionally, if you wanted to stay on campus in university housing, you can do so by filling out the housing application again. If you want to move off campus, students go to the co-ops, which is a cheaper style of living because you chip in for chores and cooking and cleaning, so it's lower rent prices. And then a lot of students move into their Greek house, so like their sorority or their fraternity, and you can live there as well after your first year here at Berkeley. And even if you're living off campus, you can still enjoy the dining hall food by purchasing a meal plan.
Absolutely, Rachel. Great information about housing. I'm going to have my first community chat with my residents tonight. I can't wait to meet them. I'm really looking forward to making this semester a safe place for students coming to campus. So let's talk about what university health services are going to be like this semester. So definitely important with COVID coming up. So right at the bottom right of the slide, you'll see a building, a little blue and orange building. That's our Tang Center. That is a center where most students will be going to receive health services in terms of medical health or mental health, therapy, other things like that. You will be going to the Tang Center, reaching out there. They have urgent care, primary care, and physical therapy for students. Aside from that, you will have to, you can opt into the student health insurance program, SHIP, the student health insurance program at UC Berkeley. You have to have your own insurance at UC Berkeley in some way or another. So you can either opt in to SHIP, or you can have your own insurance provide you insurance for your time at UC Berkeley. You just have to indicate that prior to coming to Berkeley. Like Rachel said, there's going to be COVID testing available for students. We're going to have sequester periods for students who live there. So UC Berkeley is taking the COVID-19 pandemic very seriously, and we want to encourage people at Berkeley to treat it the same way. So if you come to Berkeley, those things will be available to you in terms of FAQ sessions, webinars, and tips for COVID information this year revolving that kind of stuff. Aside from that, we have psychological counseling still being provided to students through a virtual semester. All these services are being moved online where they can be for students. So definitely continue to take advantages of these resources as you can in terms of psychological counseling and other things like that. On UC Berkeley's campus, The Graduate School of Optometry is also an eye center for students. There's a bunch of students studying optometry there and they want to study on people. So oftentimes you can go to the optometry eye center and get new glasses or get your eyes checked out, which is pretty cool. In terms of Path to Care is a program we have on Berkeley that focuses on sexual assault survivors and prevention. So if that's something that you might encounter at UC Berkeley, we have a resource there for anyone who, for people who may become afflicted by that. And aside from that, on UC Berkeley, we really try to promote stress relief on campus, whether it be with our clubs, De-Stress with Dogs, where we have dogs come on campus that people can pet, and then as well, Llama-Palooza, which is pretty awesome. So let's move right along into safety services on campus. We're going to go through this one. We're going to go through the rest of the slides a little more quickly so we can get to your questions. However, on UC Berkeley, for campus safety, especially this semester, UCPD is our UC Police Department. We have a presence on campus. If you're uncomfortable with the UCPD, we also have campus security officers who go around nightly helping students walk around campus, so that's something you can take advantage of. On campus, if you ever feel unsafe, there are a bunch of blue light poles scattered around UC Berkeley's campus. They're big black poles with blue lights at the top. You can go up to them and press a button if you feel unsafe, and they will connect you directly to an emergency service, whether it be UCPD or some other service to help you out. We also have the Warn Me system at UC Berkeley, where you'll receive an email or text anytime something is going on in UC Berkeley that might endanger the safety of people on UC Berkeley, whether it be lab spills in a lab where a lab goes a little awry or anything else going on, fires, that kind of thing, smoke, hazardous safety, that kind of thing. So we have comprehensive systems to warn students about that. And like Rachel talked about, we have a 3-point security program within the residence halls to make sure that residents are safe. And like I mentioned, we have night services for students, whether it be bear walk, where other bears will come and help you walk back to your home or your place of living after a long night, maybe in a library. And similarly, we have night safety shuttles that run most of the night, taking students to their homes or other residence halls that may be farther away from campus. So that's just a little bit about safety services we have at UC Berkeley.
So speaking of more resources that we also have an entire resource center for students. So really, with all of the resources listed on your screen, it is up to you as a student to go and seek out resources that you think that you might need help with. So for such resources, we have like the Transfer Student Center, the Undocumented Student Center, the Disabled Students Program, if you have a visible disability or an invisible disability, as well as the Basic Needs Center for students who might not be financially stable. They have food that you can go in and get for cheaper or for free depending on circumstances, as well as the ASUC, which is the big student government on campus, also provides free legal services for students. So definitely, if you wanted to talk to an advisor or a mentor, seeking out these resources is a great way to talk with a friend or get help or find students who are in similar situations as you.
Awesome. Let's talk about student life at UC Berkeley. So were it to be a normal semester, and also this semester, we have about 1,000 registered clubs and student organizations on campus that you can get involved in for the things you're passionate about. It's important for your resume, and it's also important for your development as a human being when you come to college. So definitely take advantage of those that you can, especially during an electronic semester. We definitely have a lot of volunteering opportunities. You can seek campus employment or career help at the Career Center. A lot of internships are available in the place we are. San Francisco and Silicon Valley are not too far away. Oakland has plenty of great internships. We are at the hub of California innovation and governance here in the Bay Area. So definitely try and take advantage of that as a student. And let's say you want to get away from Berkeley sometime in the future when things aren't as weird in the world as they are now. We do have study abroad programs for students where they can travel all over the world to different universities and take classes there and get an international experience. And we also encourage students to explore the Bay Area as much as they can to their ability using the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, or BART, which is at I believe a discounted cost for students. And we also have buses that go around Berkeley into Oakland. So definitely take advantage of that as a student.
So with building community in our remote learning time, you can find friends on social media. So at Berkeley, we actually have a bunch of really, really cool Facebook pages, like our meme page. We also have an overheard page, as well as a course advice page. So joining these Facebook groups, I've seen students in summer classes right now post in the Facebook course advice page, asking if other students are in a similar like computer science or math class and they want to create a study group together. And And I've seen so many other students comment and be like, yeah, add me to the chat. I need help with this midterm, stuff like that. So even with online learning, students are still creating these study groups and facilitating learning. With clubs, all club recruitment right now is virtual. So the student groups are all posting online. You would do interviews online. You don't need to be on campus. You're not disadvantaged if you aren't living in the dorms or if you aren't on campus and joining clubs, but you would just apply online and everything is virtual. So that's a great way to meet new people and make friends by joining clubs in all of the student organizations that Dylan had just mentioned. All of the departments also have webinars. Here at Berkeley, we have a career center that they do webinars as well. So like Dylan, I'm also interested in law school. So I would attend the career center law panels where they would actually bring law school admissions counselors from different universities to come in and talk about applying to law school, how to get into their university, stuff like that. So that's a really, really great way to still get learning done in the virtual world, as well as GBO, our Golden Bear orientation. This is an orientation for new students coming in, and this year it is all online as well. So you get paired in orientation groups and you can meet new people, and the orientation groups are paired up by your dorms usually. So you get to meet people that you'll actually see again, versus when I did orientation before it was GBO, you would have to go there during the summer and you're just paired randomly. So you might not even see those people ever again. So GBO is a great, great way to make new friends and meet people that you'll actually be seeing at your 4 years at Berkeley.
Absolutely. Let's move right on into athletics at UC Berkeley. So we have we have a bunch of different levels of competition at UC Berkeley. We are a Division I sports school in the Pac-12. Unfortunately, Pac-12 activities, at least I believe for football and other sports, were canceled for fall semester, but we're looking to get that going back in the spring, hopefully. I'm very passionate about this, so hopefully that happens. And Cal game days are important rituals to go to as a student, at least for the first time. So definitely check out a Cal football game. You might see me there cheering on our football team. We also have club sports for students who are interested in doing sports, but they're not that serious about it. They may have less time to spend on it due to academics. We have intramural sports for the same kind of people who aren't as serious about it, but we have intramural leagues for students who maybe want to play basketball. That's going to look a lot different this semester with everything going on, but hopefully in the future we can get a lot of this back. California Memorial Stadium is where we host all of our football games. It's not only a stadium, there are actually classrooms in there. We have the Simpson High Performance Center there. And an athletic study center. So if you are an athlete at UC Berkeley, we have a whole study center for you to get help with tutoring, career services for you, things like that. Hospavilion is where we host our gymnastic, volleyball, and basketball games and meets. That's a great place to be. You'll see it on the bottom right with our basketball team. We also have, right next to that building, we have the recreational sports facility, one of the main gyms on campus for students to utilize in terms of physical health. I try to go there every Friday, try to get built, try to just stay healthy. You know how it is. And then underneath that, UC Berkeley has about a combined total of about 207 Olympic medals. So you'll be going to class with probably future Olympians or maybe current Olympians, rarely sometimes. I knew a guy who I had a class with who ended up being the national champion of swimming. Cal's been the national champion for the swimming team, I believe, about past 2 years in a row. So that's pretty cool. You're definitely going to be going to classes with a lot of cool people, but let's move right along.
Yeah, speaking of Olympians, I actually met Nathan Adrian, an Olympic swimmer, just on the streets of Berkeley, and he's a Cal alumni. So that was really, really cool, especially because I swam competitively throughout high school, and it was just so cool and so random. So speaking of libraries and research, we have 24 official libraries on campus. So definitely a bunch of different study spots. You have to try them all when you come to Berkeley. They are all different and they all have different vibes, and they really depend on what you're looking for, because we have like a 24/7 library that allows food in, it allows talking in it, versus we have all silent libraries where you're not allowed to talk and you're not allowed to bring food into them. So with research, you can get involved in research as well. We have something called the Undergraduate Research Apprenticeship Program, also known as URAP. You don't need any prior research experience to apply, but basically you would apply and you would get paired with professors professors or lecturers or people that are doing research in the fields that you are interested in. So I think that's a really, really great way to get involved, as well as going to office hours, talking with your professors. I've had friends get research opportunities just by talking with their professor, going to office hours, and getting that department-specific opportunity. So that's also a great way to get research that isn't necessarily through the URAP program.
Absolutely. So wrapping up our virtual visit today, we're going to talk a little bit about what you'll see on campus, campus highlights at UC Berkeley. Top left corner, you see a squirrel. Squirrels are big on campus. Honestly, to me and a lot of other students, they're our secondary mascot. Berkeley squirrels are forward. They're very forward young little creatures. They will come up to you and ask for food. They're not afraid to get up right and close with humans. Over decades and decades of Berkeley students feeding these squirrels, it's evolved into them that humans are actually pretty chill. They might throw them a granola bar. So be wary of that. I've seen a friend have a granola bar stolen. So watch out for your food. But these are usually friendly creatures on campus, and you're going to have great experiences with them. In the middle picture you see right there, a view of the sunset over the bay. That is in Berkeley. You can see that exact view up on the fire trails in UC Berkeley. I hike that exact hike every weekend if I try to on the fire trails. You can see this beautiful overview of the Golden Gate Bridge in the bay. It's just a little reminder of where you're studying at UC Berkeley. You're in the heart of California, the heart of the bay, a great place to live. And you see the same kind of thing with the GIF on the top right there. UC Berkeley also is entrenched in nature. Even though it's kind of a city campus, we still have a lot of nature in UC Berkeley, with specifically Strawberry Creek. This is a creek that runs through campus. It's surrounded by beautiful redwood grove of trees that goes all the way through campus. You can walk over bridges over the creek. You might see students studying biology or natural sciences in the creek. So that's a very cool place to check out at UC Berkeley. And so there are a lot of environmentally cool things to check out in Berkeley, whether it be the city or within Berkeley itself. So definitely try to check those out. But with that, we are going to move on to some of your questions.
Definitely. Thank you so much to Dylan and Rachel for that amazing presentation. We're going to go through a few questions that we got from the audience today. So first one is for Dylan. What opportunities do undergraduate students have for research? And are there resources for internships or on-campus work?
Absolutely. There are multiple ways you can get involved with research on campus. Like Rachel mentioned, there's the URAP program you can apply to for undergraduates. I applied to that. I've been doing research these past 3 semesters, and it's been really easy to manage. They work around your schedule. Aside from that, you can apply with professors. You can go to office hours. Often professors will be nice enough to add you to other projects they might be working on. And then UC Berkeley also just has different career centers and different opportunity centers you can get involved with to learn about undergraduate opportunities on campus. So that's just a little bit about how to get involved on campus. You definitely can. A lot of students might think it's a little too hard or competitive, but I promise you there are spaces for you in research and in internship opportunities at UC Berkeley.
Great, awesome. All right, next question is for Rachel. So what is the social scene at UC Berkeley like? You can go ahead and talk about on-campus events and maybe off-campus events and how they are transitioning virtually for the next semester.
Yeah, that's a super great question. So like we mentioned in the tour, all of the clubs on campus are recruiting virtually. So that's a really, really great way to get involved. For me, I joined the Residence Hall Assembly, also known as RHA, my freshman year, and that's the student government for the residence halls. And being involved in that literally got me started to be involved in residential life, being a part of the RA team and a residential life hiring coordinator. So those clubs that you join your first semester here at Berkeley definitely can lead you to 4 years of being a part of a club, or if you're a transfer student coming into Berkeley, definitely joining clubs is the way that you can find people similar to you, find your niche, find your community. So definitely looking into the virtual recruitment is a great way to get involved at Berkeley. As well as Dylan mentioned, he likes to go hiking. We have a ton of hiking trails right next to Berkeley's campus. So I also, this past semester in the spring, was my first time going hiking on Berkeley's campus, which is really, really sad considering I did live at Clark Kerr, which is right next to all of the hiking trails for like 2 years, and I never went hiking. So hiking is a great way to de-stress and have fun, go with friends, see the beautiful, really gorgeous views of the Golden Gate Bridge, the entire Bay Area, all of that. And so that is something that you can do to have fun, get some exercise, stay socially distant as well. Something cool that we have have for like spirit and stuff like that is the big game week. That is the week leading up to the big game, which is the annual football game between Berkeley and Stanford. So it's a week full of festivities, spirit festivities. Everyone is dressed up in their blue and gold, wearing Berkeley gear to cheer on our football team at the end of the week. During the week, there's a thing called a tree cutting rally because Stanford's mascot is the tree. So they cut trees down on Sproul Plaza, which is cool. And they also have a bonfire rally at the Greek Theater, which is a concert venue on campus. And they just changed the bonfire to make it sustainable. So it's a totally reusable bonfire set. And so it's really, really cool to go see. And that's how you get that Cal spirit. So that's some of the stuff that I like to do to make friends and in my free time at Berkeley.
Awesome, great. Okay, we are going to go ahead and ask our second to last question, which is for the both of you, actually. So Catherine asked, for both of you, what were your initial thoughts about UC Berkeley, and how did they change or stay the same when you began attending? So let's have Dylan go first for this one, and then Rachel go next.
Absolutely. I'm going to talk about this a little, my Berkeley story too, but when I first got into Berkeley, when I first got to Berkeley, I was so intimidated because, you know, it's a world-renowned institution. Sometimes you feel like, should I even be here? You know, people are really serious and focused, like all these elements were founded here. Like, this is a very academic institution. Will I have a place here? And I definitely, one thing I learned over my semesters is that Berkeley is a student-run campus. Like, for the research, for clubs and organizations, for how things change on campus and how the status quo changes, it's from the students. You're going to be very involved in UC Berkeley. It's not going to be the administration kind of rearing down on you, trying to stop you from things you're trying to do, but they definitely promote students getting involved and just trying to have the best experience they can at UC Berkeley. And I've definitely found that through my own leadership roles in the Residence Hall Assembly. I was also in the Residence Hall Assembly like Rachel. I was recently the Vice President of Public Relations. And my jobs that I've had on campus have been way more involved than I thought they would be. So there's definitely going to be space for you at UC Berkeley. You're going to be making change at the university. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it's definitely a student-run campus in my mind.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I think for me, similarly, I was sort of nervous about the academics at Berkeley. Like, everyone here is super smart. Like, I'm taking all of these classes with super, really intelligent, hardworking students. And so I was a little bit afraid that the classes might be a little bit more competitive and not as collaborative. So coming into Berkeley, that was something that I was nervous about. But after 4 years here, I've actually made friends in my classes, even when the class sizes are larger, which is really cool. In like my entrepreneurship class that I took my junior year, we actually had a group project where we could make a business model, create a business, and we presented it in front of the class. And then I became really, really good friends with the people in my group project, and we still talk today. So that is really, really cool, as well as like the computer science classes I've taken. If you have like a group project there, you can become really, really close with people. So I would definitely say that the Berkeley students, even though they're all so smart that you might think classes are competitive, every student really wants what's best for their peers, and we're all trying to achieve success together in these classes.
Totally agree with what you guys are saying. I feel like the atmosphere is definitely a lot more collaborative than competitive, but and that just kind of shattered the stereotype that I had of Berkeley also before coming in. But I have the honor of asking our tour givers our last question, which is kind of similar to the last one, but it is, why did you choose Berkeley? Why did you decide to make Berkeley your home? So yeah, Dylan, why don't you go ahead first with this Berkeley story question again, and then Rachel can go next.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, when I first got in, it was such a surreal experience getting that email, because I applied to Berkeley on a whim. I wasn't really looking to go to Berkeley. I was just like, maybe I'll get in. And then they let me in, and I just had to sit there and like think about it for like 2 weeks before I actually made my decision. And I was so scared. I was so scared of going to Berkeley. I thought, people are so smart. I'm going to be like a little fish in this big pond. There's going to be no room for me. Like, do I really want to do this? And I said yes. I was like, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to go. And I went to Berkeley. And what really confirmed my reasons for being there was how the students were. I was so afraid of the other students, but what I failed to realize is that everyone at UC Berkeley is just trying to change the world in their own little way. Everyone is so passionate and focused on what they're interested in that they're not going to have time. Like, no one at Berkeley has really time to tear each other down, because we're so focused on doing the things we need to do. And it is such a collaborative environment. And I found people who have lifted me up and made me a better person. So I was really afraid of being a little fish in a big pond, but it turns out that we're all the same fishes in this big pond just trying to get through it together. So it's something to keep in mind and something I was pleasantly surprised by at UC Berkeley.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I think for me, as an out-of-state student, I was really, really nervous about going to Berkeley across the country. I didn't know anyone. I wouldn't have any friends. I was really nervous about like not being able to fit in, not being able to find friends. So like going into the dorms, living in the dorms my freshman year was a really, really great experience. And I was able to create those friendships that I was looking for. And so something that really, really allowed me to feel confident in choosing Berkeley was attending a campus tour. So like you all today attending this virtual visit, hopefully you can see how passionate all of us really, really are here at Berkeley. But attending the campus tour, I saw how passionate students are. People are trying to change the world. They will question things intellectually. I'm not only learning inside the classroom, but every single day with my friends or people in class or random people, I was learning. And that was something that was really cool. And that's something that has challenged me. Not only was I challenged in the academics of Berkeley, but really, really challenged to grow as a person, to have a bigger world view and how I can give back and how I can make the world like a place where I want to live and how I can change the world in the future. So definitely the people is what made my decision to come to Berkeley a great one.
Awesome. Thank you so much to both Dylan and Rachel. Unfortunately, this does mark the end of our virtual visit for today. You can follow us on social media at Visit UC Berkeley on Instagram and Twitter. If we weren't able to answer all of your questions, go ahead and email tour@berkeley.edu and a student ambassador will answer your question for you. We also have a blog. So if you would like to see other student perspectives and experiences that other ambassadors are writing about, you can go ahead and visit our Bear Talk blog, beartalk.berkeley.edu. We also have a different recorded virtual visit available on our website. If you missed any part of this one, go ahead and refer to that one at our YouTube channel at Visit UC Berkeley as well. If you'd like to see how Berkeley is supporting its students in the fall semester, as well as the COVID-19 resources that we have, you can visit coronavirus.berkeley.edu. And as Dylan mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we are celebrating our 150 years of Women for Berkeley, which is an amazing achievement. And you can go ahead and see how our events are also shifting virtually at 150w.berkeley.edu. If you'd like to sign up for an admissions presentation, go ahead to that link there to sign up for one of those, as well as we have student panels that are on Saturdays at 1 p.m. and engineering visits tailored specifically for if you are interested in engineering on Mondays and Thursdays. So go ahead and sign up for those at visit.berkeley.edu if you are interested. But with that, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to our UC Berkeley virtual visit for today. Thank you so much to Dylan and Rachel again. You guys are amazing. And we are going to go ahead and end our tour with a Go Bears on 3. So I'm going to count down. 1, 2, 3.
Go
Go
Bears!
Bears!
Thank you, everyone.